The friends list isn't sorted by heart level anymore, so it takes longer to check how many hearts your bachelorette has. You also can't hold right to go down the list faster. It makes no sense that you can't ask anyone out before 4 p.m. Normally this is fine because you'll easily ask them out before that, but you'll have to track Selena. So if you waited too long, it's impossible to ask Selena out, at least on a rainy day, because she's in the bar from noon to the end of the day. So you'd have to ask her out in the morning. And these games have you busy in the mornings. According to a guide, you can use a second Wiimote to rub a character to increase his or her affection for you. I guess that's immersive. But either way, it's not something I can take advantage of because I'm playing it in a way that lets me play the game faster. The game has the same bachelorettes as Tree Tranquility when I was expecting a whole new cast of characters. It's great that Kathy's in this game too, to give people a chance to marry her that didn't want to win a horse race. This gave me an excuse to pursue the other character I was interested in from Tree Tranquility. It's not one of those games where you need a guide to get heart events, and instead you befriend them and know to talk to them daily, and eventually she asks you to wait for her at a place. Thankfully she asks you this even if you give her a gift. I love that the game shows the impact when characters kiss instead of kissing the air. That's a first. When you get Renee up to enough hearts, one of the things she says every day is that she's the jealous type. She had more lines like that, and usually all she says in the first talking to is that she's a jealous type. I stopped liking her for a while after that. I still kept pursuing her, of course, but this is why it's bad to make a nearly one-note character have an unlikable flaw that makes her not the ideal girlfriend. She stops talking about being jealous after a few hearts though, but never gets more interesting after that. There's nothing to say about the other bachelorettes either. Mira tells you a blue feather's in a snowy mountain, but doesn't bother telling you how to get to that completely unfamiliar territory. She just says it's the top of Garmin Mine. And why does it have to be between 17 and 19? There are far worse times, but why can't it be all day? You could miss that time repeatedly because it's luck-based whether a crack has you get sent up or down a floor. I bet you didn't have an hour restriction to getting the blue feather in Magical Melody, which this is already ripping off instead of you being able to simply buy it from a shop quicker. You have to go through all 45 floors of the upper mine, something you might have done already to see if a power berry was there. I saw the screen went black after a second cutscene where I saw the bird happened, but I got the feather. Glad I didn't have to walk all the way upstairs to get it. It's great that you can still get married with just the level 2 house. Sadly, the wood and stone requirement is even bigger than Tree Tranquility. I expected it to be 20 each, not 100. When I went into the level 2 house, its bright wallpaper and floor caught me off guard. And the wallpaper has ugly spots of varying colors. The new table also looks ugly, all to compel you to buy a new one. You can only change what your bed, table, and chairs look like by changing the interior of your house at the carpenters for a lot of money. I hate that I can't see what the interior remodels of the houses look like before picking them. And the furniture in general. At least I can put the toolbox really close to the door this time. I bought the interior remodel right after saving, and I would have had to reload if I hated it. The remodel options suck compared to Tree Tranquility, because there's no purple and black options. And like before, there's barely any options. I like that getting a level 2 house gives your kitchen extra square. But why only one? The previous game let you have every kitchen utensil in your kitchen regardless of how good your house was. Why do you need an extra upgrade to get kids when you only need the level 2 house to get married? After you propose and get the cutscene for it, there's yet another cutscene unnecessarily where you're at the mayor's office, and the mayor asks if a date for marriage he picks is a good date for you. What's the point if you automatically agree to it anyways? And don't get to pick any special options for the wedding. This happened in Tree Tranquility too. It's really a problem now because this is the second game where it happened. When on your wedding day, the day starts wasting your time with your character being told by a text box that it's your wedding day. While it is weird, I like that you give a ring made of a blue feather to your betrothed. because it's unique for it to be blue instead of white. Oh great, I have to give her gifts every day again! Unlike in Tree of Tranquility, if you choose to walk with someone, you won't be able to get them to do farm chores for you. I love that your spouse does farm chores in this game. The wife even does chores for you when she's pregnant. This game handles marriage the best then. The game still lets you use tools on her when she's walking outside, which is pretty easy to do. There's an amazing amount of farm chores she'll help with, including mining and fishing. You still have to feed animals, unlike in Harvest Moon 3. She'll even do foraging, but you don't get helped on the holidays. Another reason it's better to do the harvesting yourself is because it takes all day trying to water the crops yourself when you're trying to avoid watering the harvesters. I like that choosing walk raises their affection, just like with the pets. It's cute that she jumps for joy because of that, because I'd expect that from a kid. But she can't keep up for more than a few seconds somehow, and gets an unhappy face over when the pathfinding AI fails so bad that she can't follow you after you go north after crossing the bridge. It's not even necessarily pathfinding AI. They can still keep up with you when you do a bunch of turns to get to the mushrooms behind the blacksmith shop. She stays at the start of the screen in Harmonica Town and Flute Fields. Actually, it's only when I have the faster running code that I can't be kept up with. I didn't think of that at first, because you walk so slowly even with the code on, I actually didn't think it was working. I like that I can make her walk with me more than once a day and increase her happiness like a pet. But it's really not going to be useful if you have to choose between doing that and making her do farm work. So this is only useful in the second playthrough where you're not buying anything anymore. I like that the wife gets into the minecart if she's close enough. And even if she isn't, she and the pet will still appear behind you after you're finished using it. It's too bad every time I use the car I have to first choose yes. Why else would I press A in front of it? It's unacceptable that the honeymoon ticket can only be used between 6 and 12 on a sunny day. It's not like you can just give it to her in the morning. You only use that ticket when you're done making money. Usually I hate any wasted time in a game, but I still kinda like the cutscene at the start of every day where she gives you a box lunch. Because you actually get to see her give it to you this time. It makes it feel more like a marriage. An ideal version of a marriage at least. I just wish it wasn't mandatory. Because like everything, its charm wears off after the billionth time. It's great that you can walk with them at all on a holiday. But it's so cheesy that our box lunch is wrapped up in gift wrap paper. Imagine all the extra effort your character goes through. The gift wrap paper in the Wii games is purely for decoration. It just vanishes as soon as you get the gift. I really didn't need to see that box lunch cutscene more than once. The game could have just kept putting lunch in my rucksack without wasting my time. Why doesn't she give you breakfast? The only reason I don't have a problem with that is because that'd be another cutscene. They could have had her give you breakfast too. Just have her say breakfast and lunch. If they're trying to make it realistic, they're not doing a very good job by not having her make breakfast for you. I hate that on the day your kid is born it skips to 20 o'clock, because as soon as it hits 7 AM, you can't ask for help on your farm. I love that you can choose clothes for your kid. They ditched that in later games. But the option to change clothes for your kid after he's a baby should be below the clothing list. Instead, you have to press A to get past for you every time you change clothes from that point on. Of course, I'm so unimpressed by the clothing choices in this game. I actually stuck with the default outfit for the second playthrough. And I'm very disappointed that all the clothing options for the daughter character are dresses. Not a single one really makes her look like a tomboy. I love that accessories are shared for all 3 people, so you don't have to buy more accessories. And 3 people can wear the same accessories simultaneously. Then why aren't clothes handled this way? One time, I couldn't ring the farm bell to get animals back inside when my family was doing the farm work until a bunch of tries later. The bell that you actually buy doesn't work. It just makes your animals have question marks over their heads, no matter how much they like you. Maybe you have to use it a whole bunch of times for it to work well, but that's really stupid because the previous games didn't have it like that. Why would they even put this in the game when they have a bell like this? Your wife and kid can only work on one land plot at a time. Although it's great that they can work on more than just your original property now. And no matter who you hire to water the most expensive farm plot, a few spots will still be left unattended at the end of the day. And those spots can be far away from each other. They don't water like real people, they water like a random spot every time. I don't know why they programmed it to be like that, unless they wanted this to be the result. I love that the game lets you choose with obvious dialogue options whether your kid is energetic or gentle, and whether he's smart or not. If only other games had this much control. I hate when it says, "What will we talk about? Our passions about our dreams." Passions and dreams means the same thing. I think one means hobbies, one means goals. You need a guide to know the differences. They both mean goals. I also love that there's a cutscene where your kid hugs your wife, even if it takes a while, and your wife pets him. In this game, it doesn't annually force you to guess whether it's your wedding anniversary or 2 different birthdays. All I have to do is befriend the eligible people, and I got most of them married without even trying. It's not like it's impossible to activate the heart event if the bachelorette likes you enough. It's too bad the wedding's only activated after 10, so you can miss it. So at first I didn't think Anissa did get married, and I thought I had a glitch, because she still visits her parents every evening. The only couples that require a guide are Phoebe's couple, because they're not going to be at the general store at 10 AM if it's not a holiday. The fastest route around town requires the mining district first. But it is convenient that you don't have to go all the way to the 5th floor to get their first event. You just have to enter the upper mine at all. What also made me use a guide is Candace's couple, because you're not going to visit Julius's house normally because he's supposed to always be at the accessory store. Candace is never at the house, so it's the 3rd place you'd look. Mia has a better proposal scene because this time she doesn't make it clear she only wants him for his cooking in her proposal. I love that request events are part of the game, without being mandatory heart events. It's always nice when you get a reward you can sell from seeing an event that you got from befriending somebody. Even Edge does that. Every event with one of the sprites after you fully befriend him gets you a reward. But I hate that the owner of the fishery expects a ridiculous amount of garbage before he'll start giving you gems. And expects a variety of garbage too. So you can't just fish in the lake where you're most likely to get garbage, because you'll only get algae. So it's not worth doing all that just for a few gems. The way the wizard gets his crystal ball back is disappointingly written. There's no way that just mortals would become possessive of a crystal ball because it magically did that to them while wizards aren't affected. That makes no sense. It only makes sense if Jake was just lying, because why was he able to choose to give the ball back out of guilt after finding out it belongs to a wizard if he was brainwashed into being possessive of it? I was disappointed that the wizard even showed up, because it made no sense that he was here. He came here because he could feel it nearby, but then why did he even need your help to get it? Why did you going here cause him to come near where it was? But it's great that the crystal ball can be gotten without a guide, just the natural result of talking to everyone in town when you started trying to befriend everyone. The reward to solving the side quest is that late in the day, any day of the week, you can talk to a wizard behind the desk to find out what a favorite gift of any villager you want to pick in the game is. It's useless because he only tells you about one gift, and with Phoebe it was the royal jelly of all things, but he didn't tell me exactly how to get it. Actually, there's at least a dozen different gifts that the wizard would suggest. Not that you would ever know that without a guide. Most people would assume that's the only advice he'd give because he says one item. Of course, this feature is only useful to the people unfortunate enough to play a Harvest Moon game without internet access. The same can be said about pressing L to see what gifts people like on the friends list. You're not necessarily told the most convenient gifts to get them, or the gifts they like the most. Why aren't I told that Kathy likes sea urchins? It takes 7 seconds for each fortune. The first game did it better. It's so boring this way. I hate that you can only get a reward from the wizard or witch, even if you give Fook mushrooms to both in their request events. His reward's better, but I thought witch would punish me. Once a season, after you start befriending the witch, she'll expect you to give her an item on the spot, depending on the season, that you probably don't even have. The worst part is that she calls you stupid if you don't have it. Which is about as stupid as not being able to get the prize for the festival if you don't talk to the mayor that day in Tree Tranquility. But that's a nitpick because you really have to try to make that happen. You don't even have to befriend Chase to get this event. If you go to the bar when Chase is working, he'll ask you to give him a recipe. He refuses a gift that isn't made with a knife. So you can't give him any of the gifts he loves if you waited too long in the day. The game never tells you that you need to give him a gift that's worth more than 330. There's no excuse for him refusing to take more than one of the recipes a day. You can't buy every recipe once either, just most of them. I don't buy his excuse for it. It only takes a second to taste something, and he had the time to talk to you that much in the first place. Not to mention there can barely be any customers when he says that. Completing a side quest is the only way to get something though. But it's not like it's something that's overpowered to get at the start of the game. If you get a letter from a sprite and it's on the same day as a scheduled event like a rival wedding, then even if you didn't attend the wedding, you'll waste your time going to the bell just for the sprite to be impossible to activate for his event until you hit the sprite with a tool and get his heart bar back up. I just had to talk to him daily for a few days. It makes no sense that this happens because I know 2 events can happen in one day. And this happened again with Colin just because there was a cutscene I didn't know about scheduled with Chloe demanding ice cream. Which is a dickheaded move because there's no way you're gonna have it on you. You get a rare ore for it, which lets you give Barbara what she asked for. Getting it back to full hearts the same day isn't good enough to activate his cutscene either. You need a guide to activate the injured bird scene because no one's gonna visit the graveyard because there's nothing to forage there. There's multiple events to activate there, one only at night. And you'd think the ghost would cry during the day too at some point. Why does it have to be night for me to talk to the ghost in the graveyard? It's not intuitive that I have to wait until night to see him twice since I already discovered he existed. And it's not like he's evil, so why have the spooky atmosphere? I love that there's events between your character's kid and the rival kids. I hate that there's random events, because it's frustrating to waste your time failing to activate the event through no fault of your own. So it was needlessly hard for me to activate the cutscene where Chloe kicks the bell. It took a few days for it to happen. Why would they make a story-based event random? The game's idea of a prize for an animal race is shining carrots, according to the wiki. Like that makes up for the loss in profits you would have gotten from having a cow all the time instead of a horse. Sure, you can ride any animal, but the horse is fastest, so there's no point. I expected the prize to be a power berry. It's a good thing it isn't because the minigame sucks. A forum also explained that the animal race gets harder every year, unlike in every other game, because it keeps finding new ways to suck. The animal contest pulls Story of Seasons by showing you every contest animal one at a time. It's so boring, it takes way too long. I'm really amazed that I won the fashion contest on the first try. Hopefully this means it doesn't suck. Because if it's luck-based too, then it also sucks. The animal race seems impossible to win. Oh, of course, it's a painful button masher. Worst race ever. I don't know why they can't just do it like the earlier games. There's no Power Berry prize for the animal or vegetable contests, so you're not forced to enter to get them all. Not that you know that. Instead, you get a huge amount of feed. And for the pet contest, you get to ship a bunch of cornbread. Why don't they just cut out the middleman and give you money? Too bad it's not one of the stuff you need to ring the bells. It's also nice in the game that you can participate in multiple contests in a row, but only one of them each, sadly. When your pet wins the contest, he gets a yellow crown. That's cute. This happens no matter what animal wins a contest. And this is the first game where that happens. This should be in every Harvest Moon game. It's satisfying to see. It's dumb that an animal won a contest doesn't sell for more like in other games. I hate that you have to make a pet do a trick repeatedly once a day to get him to do better tricks. And obviously you need max tricks to win the pet festival. None of the tricks are the pet's described talent on the wiki, like getting him mushrooms, but he does get me herbs, even when he shouldn't logically be able to. I wish the game didn't have items that could only be bought at festivals, and instead I could buy them whenever. Because they bring back festival shops, and it's never intuitive that they exist. And obviously it's pretty inconvenient that you can only buy them at festivals. Starry Night Festival is a stressful minigame now requiring you to select your wish multiple times while the game dickishly changes where its location in the dialogue tree is each time. And it's under a time limit. Usually I complain about the game having boring cutscenes it doesn't need, but when I go out of my way to experience festivals with the kid, I do appreciate that there is a cutscene where my kid gave me rice balls with cheese after my spouse came over to sit at the festival. But I almost missed the cutscene, because I went there and talked to everyone before 18 o'clock, and I was about to start leaving the festival before my wife showed up. I do like the idea that you can see festival cutscenes as a reward for getting married, but it still means it'll take even longer to see everything in the game. This game's version of the Thanksgiving Festival from Magical Melody sucks because the stores are closed, so you can't get to everyone. Speaking of that festival, no wild animals show up on that day, which is annoying if you're befriending them. An earning screen that compares this year's earning to last year, like in Tree Tranquility, is just a waste of time. The Harvest King side quest is just to activate the New Game Plus of the game with the same instructions as Tree Tranquility, but with easier ingredients to get. There's fake longevity because even though he knows he needs nature's bounty, somehow he doesn't know what it's made from, so he makes you talk to the sprites. And your kid says he's seen tons of shining things, but that doesn't mean everything that shines is part of nature's bounty, and not all of the ingredients for it shine. So this doesn't make any sense, and he's not as knowledgeable about this as the game thinks. I love that Renee actually tells you how to catch the king salmon, which takes a few days at worst. The first time I tried it was nearly instant. Too bad she doesn't tell you it has to be after 7 PM. Until you give the Harvest King all the gifts he needs, some of the people in town will not stop talking about the stuff you need to get for him the first time you talk to him that day. There's more fake longevity to this because rather than the second quest starting as soon as you bring all the requested items to the Harvest King, he makes a tree sapling you have to have water for 5 days that's not right next to your farm. It's also blatant padding that you're told to bring your kid to the Harvest Goddess. Then finally, you're told to water the seed every day. This means you're cheated out of that kid's help on the farm for 5 days. Because it takes so long to get her to the goddess, and you can't choose to both take a walk and get help. The first time I chose the daughter for this, and the second time I chose the son for this, because it was confusing to try to choose it with the modded version of the game. But thankfully it doesn't matter. The game wastes your time with Finn reminding you to visit the goddess with your kid. It's not like that would guarantee you wouldn't forget, because you could get back into your routine after you're done talking to your wife. It didn't happen to me though. Every time you wake up the next morning, you're reminded to water the sapling. The cutscene still has value by keeping some people from forgetting, but it's so boring. What I hate most of all is that the cutscenes that happen after you get your kids enough hearts still happen even if you need them to water the tree sapling. And after the cutscene's over, it's too late to get the kid to walk with you. So the sapling will die if you don't reload your save to hit him with a tool. They shouldn't have made the cutscene still able to play in that side quest. So it's better to choose the second kid for this. All I have to say about the long string of boring cutscenes after you grow the sapling is, if Finn's intention was to make a bridge to a place, how did he at first make a tiny rainbow over his head? He wouldn't have imagined that. And it's nice that you can give a gift so you can use it in the New Game Plus. But of course you wouldn't know that until your character considers this. so I only knew to have a gift because I was following a guide. Make it a black pearl to save yourself the trouble of finding one so you can ring the blue bell easier in the next file. After that, you can thankfully choose a different slot to save the New Game Plus over. When you start the New Game Plus, you're still asked whether you're a boy or a girl. It's confusing because the cutscenes leading up to this had the impression that you'd be playing as your kid, but older, but you're not. The New Game Plus of this game doesn't start you out with the same amount of money you had in your previous file plus 10,000 this time, so it's a severe downgrade. But other than that, it's the same New Game Plus as Street of Tranquility. You start out with the best hoe and watering can with max stamina. I can't imagine why you don't have all of the tools be the best ones, because the same logic for giving you the best watering can would also apply to giving you the best axe and hammer. This game has all of the same major problems as Street of Tranquility, with the extra ones that refining as a random chance of success. And watering tall plants is frustrating because the camera means it's hard to tell when soil is watered sometimes. The slow walking speed everywhere is the biggest problem with the game. Obviously, it's a huge improvement from Sunshine Islands in every way. The tool upgrade system's a lot better. Fishing doesn't constantly fish up trash from the start. Regular weather doesn't kill all of your crops for no reason. Still, all the gameplay styles can be boring, and mining is the only fun gameplay style. And even that gets boring when you do it long enough. In the first spring, it feels more like a fishing simulator. It makes me wish that time moved faster and crops gave you a lot more money, because then the pacing would be faster without setbacks. You're compelled to do a lot of fishing when you don't have a full field of crops yet, and the fact that time freezes when you're fishing really destroys the pacing of the game considering how long you spend doing it. It's sad when most of the constructive criticism has to be make it like the older games that were 4 times faster. For example, why can't you get the harvest sprites to do farm work? They didn't have to make it a part of the story that they were fading away and you had to save them. And the game has unskippable boring cutscenes everywhere that take too long.